Story 1: How Short Life Really Is. It all comes as a terrible shock when you realize your teenage years were several decades ago, and you probably only have a few years of good health left. Story 2: Sleep and my mom. I was so mean to her as a teenager. I guess it was just me wanting to gain my own independence. She still saw me as her baby. I'm 24 and she still does. The only difference is, she's my best friend now, and I can't go a day without calling that woman. I have apologized for how I behaved, and she understood, but I know sometimes she still thinks about it. Story 3: The ability to be unreachable without it being questioned. I miss the days when I could just do my thing without anyone trying to reach me or worry if I didn't respond to them immediately. Story 4: Boredom. It seems like when I was younger, especially between the ages of 13 and 17, I had so few responsibilities and resources that I would just wander the streets looking to make my own fun and had to rely on my own creativity for entertainment. Story 5: Parents are a big part here. I didn't realize just how much my mother has helped and supported me throughout my life. Even now, at the age of 31, she still continues to help and support my sister and me whenever she can. I could never repay her for what she does. But on the off chance I win the lottery, I'm taking care of her. Story 6: All the free time I had when I was younger, I could have done so much more. That is, living life. I don't regret it that much because I spent time securing my future. Story 7: Myself. I took myself for granted. My heart, my talents, my friendship. I thought I could make myself as small as possible and disappear. We're all black to fit in, maybe I'll become a shadow. But I started loving myself so much. I am here. Story 8: It's simple, but it's kindness. I was a little troublemaker when I was a young man, and due to that, I ruined a lot of relationships. I was extremely selfish. Now, all I offer people is kindness because I'm so embarrassed about my past. I can't believe I behaved the way I did. Kindness and love are all that matter to me now. Unfortunately, I've been so unkind I have nobody to share my kindness or love with. Story 9: Getting socks for Christmas. Wanting an afternoon nap at work, or wishing kids would settle down so we can all relax. Good health. Good relationships with loved ones, extended family, and friends. Quiet. Story 10: Neuroplasticity. Learning is much easier early in life. You are a sponge as a kid, and I wish I had filled my brain with more useful things during that time. Story 11: GoldenEye on Nintendo 64 with 3 other friends in the same room. I appreciated it, but the internet created a disconnect on the social front compared to in person. Story 12: Stories my elders told. I wish I had asked more questions and recorded them. I was the youngest child and grandchild. One of my first cousins passed away recently. She was old enough to be my mother. Story 13: I never appreciated the value of good sleep until I hit my 30s. Back in my college days, I would pull all-nighters like a champ, thinking I was invincible. Now, a solid night's sleep is like hitting the jackpot. Story 14: My sister. I've always been appreciative of my parents, but my sister and I have a decent-sized age gap and didn't get along at all until we became older. Now I'm so appreciative of her. Story 15: Simple yard work. Mowing the lawn, tending to flowers, and even weeding. All this was basically used as punishment when I was a kid. As a grown adult, I actually enjoy the work. I put on some music, get into the zone, and unwind from the other stresses of life. Plus, I love admiring how nice my property looks after putting in the work. Story 16: Gratitude for the basics that I am able to have. Food, clothing, shelter, a warm bed, hot water, luxury items such as a TV, nice clothing, and so on. It's the little things you take for granted. Story 17: My mom's effort. I hated how she was always at work, and there were times when I resented her, thinking she mishandled so many situations because of her emotions. Now, I realized she was just in her 20s too. She was a young adult who was also going through life for the first time. She was trying her best to provide while caring for kids, and it was unfair for me to expect her to be perfect at everything. Story 18: Health. The cigarettes were given up 13 years ago and the alcohol 3 years ago. But the damage is done, and I am 61 now and I feel 142. In my 40s, I was indestructible. I could work 16 hours a day running my construction company. Now I can barely stand up for more than 3 hours straight. No, I am not obese either, just damage to all my joints, lungs, and so on. Fortunately, the liver was not damaged. I was just a beer guy all those years, not the hard stuff. The doctor who did all the tests on me after I quit drinking told me that was the reason why. Anyway, I miss just having good health. Story 19, being myself. It's hard when you're young to not want to fit in and be one of the cool kids. But as an adult, it's very relieving to know that being myself invites far more awesome people into my life than trying to fit in. Priorities change with age, and that's okay. Story 20, family in general, not that I was mean or anything, but I lost a lot of time in my 20s to bad and controlling relationships where I wasn't allowed to see them because they were bad to me. I missed out on so much time with my family, and now I'm at the age where you get the picture. I now have a wonderful wife who loves my family like her own, and vice versa. Don't take them for granted, kids. You'll get a swift kick in the butt type of reminder that isn't fun. Story 21. Sex. As an adolescent, I didn't understand just how rare and special it is to have the opportunity to make love. I was young, naive, and selfish. I wish I could go back in time and give myself the talk that I really could have used as a teenager. Story 22. The fact that I used sunscreen when I was younger and started using tretinoin in my early 30s. I am 51 now, and I swear some people my age look 20 years older simply from not taking care of their skin. Story 23. Teachers, my brother, brand name detergents, 100% cotton anything, audiobooks, silence, living somewhere with little chance of natural disaster, so much. Story 24. Sleep. I had a baby and whoosh. To be clear, I had a baby 6 years ago. Diapers. Bad dreams. Middle of the night. Mama, can we play together? Early mornings to prepare her for the day. Twice a year, she goes to visit her grandparents. They live very far away, and I schedule my calendar for sleep. Not kidding. Canceling meetings and turning my phone off. I still wake up early because of my brain, but I don't have to get up. Story 25. My health. My body feels like an old lady, and I'm only in my mid-40s. Injuries to both knees and my back have me feeling depressed. I want to do so much more than my body allows. Story 26. Life itself. When you are younger, it doesn't seem valuable. As you age and have people around you die, you don't want that for anyone, unless you're not thinking clearly. Like, I'm against war now. I don't want anyone to die. Story 27. Working from home, from my bed, all alone. I really needed people around me when I was younger, men, women, friends. Now, as long as there is Wi-Fi, I am happy. Story 28. Now that I have a baby, just being alone, I didn't appreciate my alone time enough. It's not like I can just stay in bed and binge watch a show on a snowy weekend day. Story 29. Life itself. Don't ever take it for granted. Every single part of you that makes you is unique and amazing. Take care of your body parts. Unlike video games, you don't have spare parts. You don't have upgrades. Be happy and content with yourself and just go out and enjoy life. Story 30. I'm going to say it. My parents' punishments. Yes, I hated every godforsaken second. Yes, I don't think I'll do them to my own children, if they ever exist. But I see how some really did have lessons in them. Story 31. That my parents parented me. I was held accountable, messed around and found out. They were never supposed to be perfect, and they weren't, but after working in a field where a majority of the kids aren't parented, I am really glad my parents disciplined me on the occasions I needed it. Story 32. Family vacations to the Grand Canyon or Graceland. At the time, I just wanted to be left alone and listen to my Walkman, but I'm glad my parents took us to places. Story 33. History. I hated it in school growing up, but YouTube and other outlets have really shown me how narrow the scope of what I was taught really was and how fascinating all of history is the world over. Story 34. My parents are cooking for me. As I'm older, at 33, I can't help but think they are older too. Back then, I used to buy food on the streets, but now I just want to remember their cooking since they are in their 70s. Story 35. Time. Having time in the day for things other than work, friends, family, and hobbies. The passage of time becomes faster, and things do not feel new. Thus, the days move on faster without conscious effort to make the most of things. And we give time to things that do not need or deserve it. The time we have is precious, and we should use it well and not get bogged down in pointless things that only rob us of this precious and intangible resource. Story 36. Having both of your parents. I just lost my dad days ago, and I just realized how much I took his presence for granted. I wish I had spent more time with my dad and forgotten all of the stupid things between us. I'm sorry, Dad. I miss you. Story 37. Nature. Now I'm only 18, so I'm not exactly late in life, I hope. But as a kid, I never really enjoyed nature walks or anything. But now I jump at the chance for one. Story 38. Effectively holding someone accountable. It's easy, especially when you are upset, to attack someone's character. But by remaining calm and sharing how a person's behavior impacts their surroundings, they are much more likely to understand and work on it. Story 39. Wine. I always thought that all the talk of aromas and tasting notes was pretentious nonsense. It might still be pretentious, but it's not nonsense. Once you get into it and start learning, it's an entire universe. Story 40. Napping. As a kid, I would fight nap time, be mad at adults for forcing me to rest. It felt like wasting an hour of my afternoon. Now I'm an adult in need of a good nap. I was a fool. Story 41. Growing up with parents in a healthy marriage, trying to make marriage work now with someone who had a broken family is hard because I want family days out and he can't understand why I want that. It's sad because I know that wasn't his experience of growing up, but it was mine and we are together, so I want the same for our daughter. However, he doesn't see the value in it as much as I do. Story 42. Health. Retired from a 30-year career of 65-hour weeks. Going from 65 to 0 was rough, and my health started declining quickly, so I went back to work but on my terms. Now I take my dogs to work with me every day that I want to work, and the family business I work for gets 30 years of experience at a low cost. Story 43. Just sitting and watching, nice with a beer or something. I can do that for hours now, especially if there are people to watch. Just sitting, thinking, and watching. People need to take more time to just let the mind wander. Story 44. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia about a year ago, and I really didn't appreciate the simple things like going on a long walk, meeting my friends for hours, parties, and other activities. I can barely even get out of bed most days now. I miss the life I used to have, if I'm honest. Story 45. A full head of hair. I used to be annoyed at how quickly my hair grew back. My hair still grows back quickly, but it's only on my rear, nose, and ears now. Story 46. Food. I didn't know how thankful I was to have a full belly and a decent meal until going to bed hungry became a regular part of my life. I definitely took that for granted. Story 47. Not blurting out the first thing on my mind turns out few are interested, and it got me into way too much trouble. Some of those blurts were basically illegal, now they are merely gently questionable. Story 48. Hugs. I miss getting hugged often. When you get past 20, they seemingly fall off a cliff in frequency. Now I'm past 30, they are few and far between. Story 49. As a kid, I never liked any kind of music, movies, or stories of any kind. I don't know why exactly, but I remember saying things like, "What's the point of watching that? It's all made up. And why are you crying? They didn't really die. It's just an actor." I could never get into any kind of fictional thing because it's made up and not real. And I only enjoyed watching documentaries, factual things, and silly cartoons. But now, as an adult, I'm able to enjoy reading stories and watching movies. They are entertaining, interesting, and captivating. I don't know why I couldn't do that before, to be honest. And I don't know why I never liked music. It was always some kind of stupid, incomprehensible thing that only adults like. And I always thought it was cringe and annoying, but I love it now. I can say the same thing about art and history. I had the same weird logic about those as a kid. What's the point? It's irrelevant now. But damn, history is actually really interesting, and art, creativity, and culture are also awesome. In fact, now I'm into all this stuff probably a lot more than the average person. Story 50. Free time. You have plenty of free time as a kid. You finish school around 3, and homework takes maybe an hour or so. Most days your responsibilities are taken care of by dinner, and you have the rest of the day to do whatever. You get long breaks from school. Off all summer, Christmas break, spring break, and many holidays. Adults get so little free time. I've had one job that offered more than 2 weeks of vacation. Most jobs only give time off for federal holidays, which probably adds up to about another week off. You get home from work at 5:30 or later and immediately have to figure out dinner. Then there's the constant feeling of restlessness because there's always something that needs to be done. There's always another errand or chore to complete. Those rare days when I have nothing on my schedule and nothing pressing to take care of are amazing but too few and far between. Story 51. Going to bed earlier and getting a better night's sleep. Looking back at my teenage and early 20s, I was semi-functional at 60% of my potential due to inadequate sleep. Story 52. The little things. The sun, nature, walks, the birds singing, and even the silence. Later in life, you start slowly realizing that these little things are what make life beautiful. Story 53. My dad. He's not perfect, but he's my dad, and he was there when my mom walked out and never spoke to me again at 10 years old. I gave him hell as a teenager and often thought he was difficult, and though sometimes he could be, a lot of it was to instill toughness and resilience. I was fighting for my independence, and sometimes he still saw me as that little boy with tears in his eyes and snot running down his nose, asking when mom's coming home. But he always reined himself in from overparenting, sometimes a bit later than I would have liked. He was both my mom and dad, and I'll always love that man with every fiber of my soul. We were at each other's throats when I lived at home, and now, years later, at 29 years old, we're best friends.